Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So while I was working on this video and editing everything, I just had to throw in this quick edit because we just crossed 100 subscribers on the channel. I really appreciate you guys for the support. We have plenty more work to do on this channel. We do plan on continuing with the Destiny content. We do plan on covering more games, discussing more about next gen on this channel. So if you guys are interested in anything about gaming news, if you love Destiny 2 like I do, and you want more of our content, please consider hitting that subscribe button and turning on that notification bell if you haven't already. Now back to the video. So today I want to go over somewhat of a touchy subject right now within the Destiny 2 community. Yesterday Bungie dropped a new TWAB, and in it they discussed the topic of adding a max power level to weapons and armor, aka sunsetting. Now the way it's going to work in Destiny 2, as Bungie goes over in this week's TWAB, is essentially gear and items that we earn, all the gear and items that we currently have, will get a max power level equivalent to 3 seasons after they were earned. Now, this is going to start in season 11, which is next season of Destiny 2, but you will not actually feel the effects of this change until season 12. Now, more specifically, they mentioned that any item in the game, weapons or armor, that was earned from season 1 all the way up until season 8, all of those pieces of gear will get a cap equivalent to the season 11 power cap. So essentially in season 12, all of those items will no longer be able to get infused to hit the new power cap available in season 12. So when you hear something like that, you start to think about all the pieces of gear that are available in the game that have been earned all the way from season 1 up until season 8, which is Season of Undying. And the idea of all of those pieces of gear no longer being able to be infused to hit the power cap means that now you effectively have a lot less choices within the pool to pick from whenever you're choosing to jump into endgame activities. Now, I think that that's one of the most key points that a lot of people need to keep in mind when this new system is implemented. Bungie is not taking or deleting any of these items from the game. So your spare rations, your beloved, all of these items that people love and cherish and want to hold on to, all these items will still remain in the game, but you basically won't be able to carry any of them into endgame activities as time goes on. Now, maybe the first season or so, the power level difference won't be as harsh if you choose to equip these items in endgame activities, so you might be able to get away with running with this, especially after Bungie made those changes to the power leveling system and the ways that power level affects your performance within higher level activities. So I think it's very important to keep that in mind, that your gear and your items are not being taken away from you, they're not going away, they're not being deleted from the game to make space for anything. They're essentially just saying that these items, after a certain point, can no longer be infused so that you can continue to use them within the higher level activities of the game. And those include things like raids, Grandmaster Nightfalls, Trials of Osiris, things like that. So if you're a person who likes to run spare rations and mindbenders, then in season 12 and beyond, you might want to start considering something new, which is the next part of the issue. There needs to be something new, something to replace that in a sense, because of how attached everyone is to the weapons and the armor that they currently have. So while I personally am for weapon retirement and armor retirement, I do acknowledge that Bungie still has a task on their hands of making sure that they continue to introduce new and powerful weapons and armor and perks and mods into the game. And I do think they're going to be able to do this. If they're able to effectively sunset weapons and armor and move them into the background of the game, it makes space for them to continue to create more powerful gear that doesn't always have to be compared to previous powerful gear that players are attached to. So essentially, when you add something like a brand new SMG that's pretty good at ad clearing, it doesn't need to be compared to the Recluse and live up to those standards. It can now slide in and take its place. And there needs to be something new about that weapon besides just copy and pasting the same exact thing that a weapon like Recluse was doing, because if it doesn't, then it effectively defeats the whole purpose of replacing Recluse in the first place. So there's a lot of little things that go into weapon retirement. It's not just a simple thing as saying Bungie's removing these things to make space to add new things. While they are removing these old weapons and armor, they still have a task of making new, interesting, and more powerful loot and adding it into the game, and also adding better ways to earn these new weapons and armor. So now that leads into the next section of this latest TWAB, where they talk about a brand new redacted engram that's going to be added into the game. Now the way this engram is going to work is a few mechanics to it. So any fans of Menagerie out there, you're really going to like some of these changes to this new engram that Bungie's introducing. Now it needs to be said that this engram is basically going to focus on seasonal content in terms of the loot. So all the seasonal armor or weapons will be able to be earned from this new engram. And the cool thing about this engram is that it won't just come from whatever new seasonal activities are available in Season 11 and beyond. It's capable of being earned within a multitude of activities spanning the entirety of Destiny 2. And when I say a multitude of activities, I mean a lot of activities, old and new. Activities like the Blind Well, Escalation Protocol, Menagerie, Reckoning, the Forges, Nightmare Hunts, Adventures, Raids, Dungeons, Crucible, Gambit, Strikes, Public Events, and 2 redacted activities coming in Season 11. All of these activities will be able to drop this brand new engram that will reward you not just seasonal weapons, not just seasonal armor, but also Bungie's bringing back 6 weapons from the previous 3 seasons. So we'll be able to earn 2 weapons from Season of Undying, Season of Dawn, and Season of Worthy. Now what those weapons are, we don't exactly know at this time, but looking at that engram, there's going to be a lot of potentially cool loot that you might not have had a chance to grind for previously that you'll be able to earn in Season 11 by playing any of these activities. Now Bungie does specifically tell us that this new engram will also be able to be earned from random drops off of combatants defeated anywhere in the system. So they work similarly to legendary engrams already in the game. Now they will share a similar loot pool to legendary engrams, so there's a possibility you'll get a normal legendary or you'll get this new engram. Now what that chance is specifically, it adds up to about a 66% chance to earn the new engram over a 34% chance to earn a regular legendary engram. So it's weighted to be able to give you the new stuff over the old stuff. Another new thing about this redacted engram is that it's going to allow players to focus what kinds of loot they want to earn from the engram. So like I said, for those players who enjoy the Menagerie and the way that you can dictate your loot within the activity, this engram is going to have some type of similar functionality. And it is important to note that the 6 weapons that I mentioned earlier that were coming back from Season of Undying, Season of Dawn, and Season of Worthy, all of those weapons will be available for the free-to-play players. As with every season, there is a bunch of free content available to anyone who plays the game. And that includes this new system of focusing the categories of the types of loot you're trying to chase with this redacted engram. So for example, something that you could do in Season 11 is you can focus the engram to reduce the number of rewards in the engram so that it will only contain Season 11 armor. You can also, if you choose to farm for those returning weapons, put the focus on the engram to only drop you weapons from the Season of Undying, Dawn, and Worthy loot pools. Probably the most exciting one that I'm looking forward to is you'll have the ability to focus the engram to drop you high stat rolls on your armor. And this is something I think will really be effective in Season 11 and going forward, because currently in the game, every season's armor is nearly impossible to get at a high stat roll besides pulling the later rolls from your season pass. Outside of that, being able to add these weapons and armor into the loot pools currently does not allow you to effectively farm for higher stat rolls. So I think this will be a great addition to the game, and there is one thing to note about these focusing categories that are going to be available. Now, for players who are playing free to play, you will get access to 3 of those focusing categories. For anyone else who pays for the season pass, you'll get access to an additional 15. So overall, that's 18 categories that you'll be able to focus within this new engram. Now, what those categories end up being is still yet to be seen. We don't have any details on the rest of the ones outside of the ones that I already mentioned, but it'll be interesting to see which ones Bungie gives to all players versus the ones that they give to paid players. So I really like the idea of Bungie adding this new engram. Previously, Luke Smith did mention that they want to change up the way that they have this seasonal structure. Instead of just adding new activities into the game, they want the season to enter with a theme that influences the entire game. And while they did mention that we wouldn't really see the full scope of that until year 4, I think this is a good start within the final season of year 3. So when the next season starts, we will have 2 redacted activities that they mentioned on their list, but we'll also be able to earn the new items that come within this new season throughout a variety of activities within the game. So for example, if we're doing an activity like Guardian games that required us to go back and play old activities, with this new system we would have been able to earn some of the new weapons and armor while we were playing old activities in order to farm for a new event. And I think that would have added a little something into it. Maybe that's just me, but I think it would have made that whole grind a little bit more bearable, knowing that you were earning something new and desirable. Now I want to wrap up this whole conversation with a couple questions and answers that Bungie threw into the TWAB in reference to sunsetting weapons and armor in the coming season. So the first question says, can I still use gear that has reached its max power level? And the answer is yes. You'll be able to equip and use any piece of gear. Reaching the player power cap is beneficial, but not strictly required for most activities in Destiny. You can continue to equip and use all gear in these activities. Now the next question says, this applies to armor as well, and like I said, the answer to that is yes. All legendary gear that provides power will have a max power level. So I do want to just talk about this topic a little bit more in depth, because one thing that I think people are missing on the point of armor being sunsetted is that Transmogrification is going to be added into the game. So if you have a piece of armor that you really like the look of, you'll basically be able to take that look and transfer it over to any new piece of gear that you get in the future content. Now, you can't make the argument that people spend a lot of time, or some people spend a lot of time, grinding for the perfect stat rolls. And if Bungie comes in and takes away those armor pieces with their desired stat rolls, it defeats the whole purpose of the grind initially. And I get that, I understand it, but I think what Bungie's trying to do here is to say that a year of time is enough to hold on to one piece of gear, and that in all the time that you invest in the game, you'll more than likely come across a piece that's better or similar to the one that you already have, but it's just more updated within the game. So they want to keep players going forward rather than holding on to the past. That's just my explanation of what's going on here. Whatever you choose to believe, or whatever your beliefs are on this subject, you totally have the right to feel the way that you want to feel about it. And if you guys don't agree with this idea of sunsetting armor, let me know down in the comment section below. So now the next question says, when gear drops after its debut season, what will its max power be? And the answer is, it'll be the same as it was upon initial release. So whatever weapon or piece of armor was earned in season 11 will have a max power representative of whatever the max power will be in season 14. So if you earn that piece of gear in season 13, it'll hit that max power level still in season 14. One thing to note that they mentioned is that this is going to be different for any piece of gear that's reissued into the game. And they go more in detail with the next question, where somebody asks, will gear ever have its max power level updated? And the answer to that question is not directly, but the gear can be reissued within future seasons. So now these reissued versions of whatever piece of gear they choose to put back into the game will have a new max power level based on the season that they're reissued. So they do mention that they're going to experiment with this throughout year 4, but basically the way that it's going to work is that if a piece of gear comes out in season 11 and it is set to expire in season 14, if they choose to bring back and reissue that piece of season 11 gear in season 14, now that reissued piece of gear will not be sunsetted until season 17, 3 seasons after it's issued into the game. So those are just a couple of questions and answers that Bungie goes over. There's plenty more questions and answers that could be asked and answered. We still have a few more TWABs left in the season. Bungie does tease what we'll get from the next TWAB during next week, and I will be covering it as I've covered all the previous TWABs over the past few weeks. But for anybody who's wondering what next week's TWAB is going to cover, Cosmo ends the TWAB by saying this: we hope you enjoyed the little preview we gave you of the new Redacted Engram coming next season. Next week we'll share more changes coming to how you earn rewards in season 11. Some of you know what a world loot pool is. Many of you have no idea what I'm talking about. Don't worry, we'll talk next week. And that was Cosmo, one of the Destiny community managers, who wrote that. So I can't wait to go over next week's TWAB with you guys. Bungie's been talking a lot about how they're reshaping the loot game within Destiny 2, and it's really got me looking forward to what's coming next and what new content we could really look forward to. I'm excited to see the structure that they build for Destiny 2 and how we'll be grinding for gear in the future seasons. If you guys are interested in my thoughts on the current loot game and the things that I think need to be changed within the game, I have plenty videos on the channel that I'll drop some links down below in the description, and you guys can check those out. I'm going to wrap this video up here. We can have further discussions down below in the comment section, so let me know what you guys think about this topic that we discussed today. I appreciate you guys hanging out on the channel. I appreciate all the recent support. We just crossed 100 subscribers on the channel, so I thank you guys for that. And if you aren't already subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell so you guys know when we drop content on this channel, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.